Comedy short stories, The Accidental Mayor. It all started with a sandwich. Harold Jenkins never meant to run for mayor. Heck, Harold barely managed to run a toaster without burning something. But one fateful Tuesday afternoon, standing in line at the snack shack, Harold's life changed forever, all because he complained a little too loudly about how even a half-eaten tuna sandwich could run the town better. Unfortunately for Harold, that remark was overheard by Betty Green, the most enthusiastic and, coincidentally, the most hearing-impaired gossip in the entire town of Pickleton. Within 20 minutes, Betty had already declared Harold's campaign open. By the time Harold finished his sandwich, he had unknowingly secured the support of 3 neighborhood associations, the Pickleton Quilting Club, and the entire Senior Citizens Bowling League. Harold's accidental rise. The next day, Harold woke up to find a homemade "Harold for Mayor" sign hammered into his front lawn. Worse yet, local teenagers had made a campaign page for him online, featuring the least flattering photo imaginable: Harold blinking mid-sneeze at last year's chili cook-off. At first, Harold tried to protest. "I'm not running for anything," he cried. But Pickleton, desperate for a change, and honestly desperate for any entertainment, wasn't about to let Harold back out. Finally, a real man of the people, cheered Old Man Crenshaw, who hadn't voted since 1972. To Harold's horror, his popularity skyrocketed when he answered every political question with either, "I don't know," or "Let's have more pie." The townsfolk found his honesty refreshing. The campaign he couldn't escape. As the days rolled by, the campaign trail became increasingly absurd. Harold's official campaign vehicle was his 1,992 minivan, which local kids decorated with washable markers, including phrases like "Harold for President" and "More pizza for Pickleton." His campaign manager was Mrs. Dobbins, the 87-year-old librarian who strategized primarily by handing out free cookies to undecided voters. His platform boiled down to shorter lines at the DMV and a 3-day weekend every week. At a debate with the current mayor, Harold accidentally dropped his note cards, spilled coffee on the moderator, and still somehow won the debate, mostly because he made everyone laugh harder than they'd laughed in years. When asked about crime rates, Harold shrugged and said, "Maybe we just need to give everyone a puppy. Hard to commit crime when you're busy snuggling a beagle?" This answer alone won him 64% of the youth vote. The Election Day Chaos. Election Day in Pickleton was less about voting and more about a festival. There were bounce houses, cotton candy stands, and a pie-eating contest where Harold was, unsurprisingly, the reigning champion. At the polling station, volunteers wore Team Harold t-shirts featuring Harold's confused face next to a giant slice of pie. Despite his best efforts to lose, including an impromptu speech about why nobody should vote for him, Harold won the election in a landslide. When the final votes were tallied, Harold had 89% of the vote. The remaining 11% had mistakenly voted for Harold Jenkins, a typo invented by a local 8-year-old who insisted he should also be mayor. Harold, the reluctant leader. As mayor, Harold's reign was nothing short of legendary. He declared Casual Pajama Fridays town-wide. He instituted mandatory ice cream breaks every third Thursday. He accidentally signed a town ordinance making goats official citizens, long story involving a petting zoo, an escaped llama, and a lot of confusion. Under Harold's leadership, tourism actually increased because outsiders were curious about the town run by a sandwich guy. His first and only speech at a national mayor's conference began with, "Look, I'm just here for the buffet," and ended with a standing ovation. Conclusion. Years later, Pickleton would still talk about the glorious reign of Mayor Harold Jenkins, the man who proved that sometimes laughter and a little bit of pie are exactly what a town needs to thrive. And Harold? He never ate another tuna sandwich again. Just in case. The end.